Today we're going to take a look at the on-base plan review module. On-base plan review allows submitters such as architects, engineers, or homeowners to submit projects to a review jurisdiction, whether that's a municipality, a county, or a state, and allows the jurisdiction to review and mark up the plans, send back deficiency letters, and then ultimately, hopefully, issue an approved stamped set of drawings. The first part of this is going to be the submitter portal, which we see here. The portal is configurable to include whatever text you would want, as well as either videos or PDF type guides on how to use the system. The user can authenticate in if they're an existing user. If they're a new user, they can actually register for an account. That can be self-registration, or the jurisdiction can review the application before issuing the credentials. When I do sign in, I'm presented with a list of the projects that I own or that I've been invited to participate in. We have a filter that allows us to filter down and see exactly what date range we want to look at, as well as other information such as the people that you want to have in your group, your profile, and other information that you may need. To the left here, we see each of the review types. These review types are the ones that we have set up in the demo system. These are configurable to meet your requirements. Each of these review types can have a different on-base workflow behind them. So typically commercial projects have a lot more review steps than a simple residential project. Site plan may go to a completely different group of people. So for the demo, I'm going to go ahead and pick site plan. When I see this, I'm presented with the information that I need for the metadata for the project. This can include things like street address, you see that the items that have red asterisks in front of them are the information, or the metadata that's required. I have the ability to add roles, so if I wanted to invite another person to participate, I could manually add all their information, or I can look them up and actually pick them from my history. You'll notice when I picked Ashley, it populated all of the address information, phone numbers, the company that Ashley's with. Everything gets pulled from the history. The nice thing with this is by inviting Ashley to participate in the project, it allows her to actually download information and see what was submitted without actually being the owner of the project. If this was a project where there was no street address yet, we can put in a parcel ID to identify where the project is. And then here, this uses a completely configurable form that each review type can have a different form, and this is a real easy to modify way to change the portal and gather additional information that you may need. I can go ahead and here put in a comment. This comment goes to the reviewer. You see that we do spell check, so I can have that information there. Once everything is included, I can come down here and click add, at which point the project gets added to my list that I showed you earlier. The user can then go ahead and click this list. You'll see all the metadata that we entered, along with a summary over here on the left hand side. So the project ID in the demo, we're getting that assigned automatically. That can actually come from a permitting system. In fact, all of this metadata can be driven off your permitting system. The group can be used if this project is part of a larger project. So if this community center was in a shopping center and there was 4 or 5 other buildings being built, we may want to group that together so that we know this is all part of the P. Smith Development Company's project. The name that we showed earlier is what we entered. This status is important because this shows where the project is in the process. The portal is not just for uploading. This portal is actually there for bidirectional communication from the submitter to the jurisdiction and from the jurisdiction back. So by displaying the status of this, we actually can hopefully minimize the amount of phone calls you get regarding where a project stands. Finally, we have the action. Because on-base plan review is built on our workflow product, we actually can expose workflow actions. So when the user submits this for review by clicking this link, they're actually executing a workflow action to move the project through the process, and I'll show you that in a minute. The Plan Document tab allows me to go out and actually get my folders and my documents that I want to upload. In this case, I'm uploading all PDFs. We do support DWGs, TIFFs, virtually any Windows format. You'll also notice that we have a fairly straightforward naming convention here. That naming convention allows us to parse out and assign sheet types and disciplines. So when I go ahead and click, I see that I've automatically mapped all the ones that have A's to architectural drawings, all the C's to civil, all the S's. And then based on the naming structure, I've also been able to figure out what that sheet type is. Here I can actually, because I didn't get that naming convention, I can mark these as individual reports. So in this case, this is the environmental impact. If I knew it was geotechnical, I could do that. And then I can also do my grading and drainage. These are not required. They are nice to have though, and I'll show you that on the reviewer side. When I have everything ready, I'll click upload. We get the confirmation message, and we see those documents are now uploaded to the site. On the back side of this, we can actually run virus scan software to make sure there was no malicious code in these. At this point in the process, the user is free to either delete a document they don't want to submit or download a document. The download comes in handy in this case if Ashley Hernandez was responsible for the structural portions of the project. She may want to come in and download those to get copies of those drawings. When we're ready to go ahead and submit, the user will click the Submit for Review. You'll see that that option disappears and the project now shows that it's in Coordinator Review. As I said earlier, the process is actually twofold. Right now we've looked at all of the submitter side of this, and now we're going to jump over and look at the actual project within the on-base client. So if I look, Plan Review is built into the on-base Unity client. You can either access it from the icon, or we can access it from a shortcut tile. When I click it, either way, I open the Plan Review dialog. We see the workflow queues associated with the project, and if you remember, my community center is right here in Coordinator Review. When I open that, the other tab sections of the interface get populated. So here I can see the metadata that we supplied, the contacts, the locations, each of the plans and documents. Again, based on that naming structure, we've broken these out so that we can see individual pieces of information as far as classifying those drawings, which makes it really nice to be able to find that information going forward. In our model, we have a coordinator that's reviewing this project and is looking to make sure that all the plans are legible, that we have everything we need, and that everything is in order to proceed. At that point, the coordinator would start the review cycle. That does two things. Number one, it starts the clock ticking for how long we have to respond, and in addition, it actually locks down the submitter. So if we come back here, we see that we can't upload documents because we don't want that submitter changing things mid-flight. We also see that we've removed the delete icon. They can still download to get a copy of this, but they can't change anything until we're ready to allow them to change. Normally, the coordinator would send this out to department review, so we'll go ahead and show that. And I'm going to only send it to environmental, send it to one department, but you may have in your jurisdiction 5 or 10 departments. So this list is completely configurable. It allows you to send this project out to those departments. They can get email notifications through workflow and actually see that they have work assigned to them. When I click that, we should actually see that it went to the department review queue. So rather than log off and log on, I'm going to stay logged in as the manager user that I am right now and show you from one user perspective. In a production environment, the person who is in the individual departments would log on and be presented with an almost identical interface to this, but only with the queues or the workflow tasks that they were permitted to see. When I open the drawing, we'll see that this opens in an engineering viewer, so it's a very nice way to present this information. When I open the drawing, it opens in an engineering viewer, which is a very nice way to present the documents. We see a very nice clean PDF in this case. This is a vector-based PDF. As I mentioned earlier, we do have the ability to support scanned images, DWGs, but the vector-based PDFs are by far our preferred method for a number of reasons, not limited to accuracy and the ability to turn layers on and off, which I'm going to show you in a minute. One of the things that we like to talk about is the ability to support dual monitors. So if we pop open this magnify window, if you picture that on a separate monitor, it lets me navigate the plan and see a magnified view of the actual drawing. Go ahead and recenter this. I also have the ability to do the opposite of that. This pan and zoom allows me to navigate around the drawing and move the bigger picture so that I can see exactly where things are at. The one real nice feature with the vector-based PDFs is I can do advanced functions like turning layers on and off. So if I'm only reviewing the dimensions of the building, I can turn off all the other layers and only see the information that's pertinent to the review that I'm performing. That's not a thing, not a possibility with the scanned image. So the vector-based PDF allows us to have a lot of that advanced interaction. We also have the ability here to measure. So I can come in and measure lengths where if I know the drawing is to scale, I can actually come in here and measure. If it's a different scale than what I have from the default, I can calibrate it. I can also come in and do angles and arcs. So if I need to know, is there enough clearance to get a semi-truck around the back of the store or to get a fire truck into a specific location, I can do those calculations. I can also come in and calculate area. So if I came here and said I want to see the area of a shape, I can see that this is 7,916 square feet. It's 368 feet of perimeter, and it's a really nice way to be able to calculate that information. I also have the ability to compute or determine the area of irregular shapes like retention or detention ponds. I'm going to go ahead and focus in on this area down here, and you'll note that there's only one handicap parking space. So I'm going to come in and actually turn on the markup tools. You'll see we have a complete menu of markup options here, and I'm going to say go ahead and let's do the cloud markup. I'm going to go ahead and put a comment on here that'll tie it back to the explanation. So I'll go ahead and number that and highlight this. You'll notice down here that each of these layers of the markup show up as an individual user. Users can be assigned specific colors and it will remember that. And the nice thing, because this is a layer on the drawing, multiple people can be reviewing this drawing at the same time. There's no need to single thread it. So I'll go ahead and save those markups, and now let's go ahead and put a comment in. So I'm going to type a comment here that basically says not enough handicap parking. If you spell like I do, it's nice to know there's spell check here, so I can actually come in and correct these. If I wanted to, I could mark it as internal only so that it would be a comment that wouldn't be included on the letter back to the submitter. And you'll see that it actually ties the PLN1 back to the comment here. We also have the ability to add standard comments. So if I wanted to come in here and have a standard list of comments, I can have that list. I can go ahead and pick that standard comment and apply it to the drawing. So again, to be very consistent, we can see that information and have a common message no matter who that submitter is. If I come here and go back to the standard comment and type that filter again, we can actually see that we note when the comment has been used. So if two people note that this is a floodplain, we're not going to add the comment twice because they can see that someone else has already added it. I do have the ability to delete comments. We can have comments deleted, but we do track that in the history. We can refresh these comments. So if there was 3 or 4 people reviewing, I could refresh this and see everyone's comments. And then finally I can filter either by department, reviewer, the status, or the visibility. Once I have that information in, I'm going to go ahead and close this. We'll close the drawing and return back to the main interface. And now you'll see that we show on that drawing that there's open comments and there's markups. So at this point, we need to communicate that back to the actual submitter. To do that, we're going to do 2 things. First, we're going to generate a letter that basically is going to show those review comments. It gets generated as a Word document. We can either publish it that way or we can convert it to a PDF. When we convert it to a PDF, it occurs automatically and allows me to come in and actually view the document. So this letter can be customized any way that you'd like, and you'll see that it gives the comment ID in our case, the sheet name that it was found on, along with the comment itself. We also have the ability to generate the plan set. So the plan set gets generated and essentially is a PDF rendition of the actual markup. So here I can come in and open this. We see my comments. We see the highlights that I put on the drawing, and this allows me to communicate that back to the submitter. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and publish these. And from my perspective, I've now completed the review cycle, so I'll go ahead and say complete the review cycle. I'm going to reject the drawing for environmental, which moves us back into the plan or the resubmission required queue. And then I'm going to notify the submitter that they need to resubmit. So that notification can either happen through the portal or it can be an email that's sent back. But either way, my community center is now back into a submission status. If I go back to the portal now, we'll see that if I come back to the projects page, it's back in the plan submission stage. If I go ahead and open this, I can now see the review documents. So I can go ahead and download that letter. And again, this is the exact same document I showed you earlier, except now I'm accessing it through the portal. And then my marked plan set also appears, and they can download that information. The nice thing on the plan set is, if this was a multi-page document, we actually bookmark so they can jump directly to that page. And we also show the actual comments themselves. So if they clicked on these, if they were on separate pages, it would actually navigate them to that page. In this example, it's a single page document just for ease. Either way, the user now has to resubmit revised drawings. So I'm going to come back here. You'll see that because we closed the review cycle, the user is now able to submit new drawings. We'll browse out and get a revised drawing. You'll see that it's pending upload. When I go ahead and upload this, OnBase automatically detects that it's a second revision, and I can submit for review again. So if I jump back over to the internal project now and we refresh this, we'll see that we've moved into the second review cycle here. the review allows me to go ahead and reopen that document. You'll see that we have 2 revisions now. You'll see that we have 2 revisions as indicated here, and if we look at this drawing we can see that they clearly made the change we requested on the drawing to add the handicap parking. If we zoom back out, the nice thing with this is since both of these drawings came in as vector-based PDFs, I can do a very accurate compare of the drawings. So in our case, we know that we requested the change here to the handicap parking. So the red is items that were removed, the green were added. What's interesting though is I knew I requested this change, but I didn't request anything up here. So I can actually zoom in and detect changes on the drawing that may have otherwise been hidden or the reviewer wasn't aware of. In this case, they simply pulled that island back, and I'm actually okay with that. That doesn't change anything that I would change my approval on. So what I'm going to do now is actually go and copy that document to the approval queue. It actually moves into this approval and allows me to go ahead and stamp the document. The stamps are using on-base signature technology where we can actually scan in specific seals and information. We're retaining all the history and the authority to stamp this, so in many ways the electronic stamp is safer and easier than stamping the drawing, a paper drawing. Had a very good friend of mine that was a chief plans examiner for the county where I live, and over the years he had 3 or 4 projects come in with his stamp on them that he had no idea where they got that from. So that was an enjoyable call to make to inform him that the plans were not approved. But the stamp can be positioned. In this case we have it automatically placing the stamp here. We'll save that document. That actually burns that image into the drawing, shows it to us here. We can actually come in and zoom in. So this seal can be configured, all the image data, and then here is the actual date and time the project was stamped and approved. So at that point I can go ahead and publish this document as well, and when the user comes back it actually appears here in the approved documents, so we can download that same exact file. And now that user has the stamped copy just like I showed you earlier with the approved stamp. We can place that stamp on multiple pages if we know there's clear margin. There's lots of ways to accomplish that. The other item to show you is we can actually generate a letter that's an approval letter using the same exact process that we have here. So you may have a standard letter that you use, again completely configurable with your letterhead. If there's any specific verbiage that you want to communicate back to that user, we can do that through this approval letter, and it provides a way to have this information all within the on-base system, all available to them, and again through the publish function have it appear on the website as well. So that's the end of the standard demonstration. If you do have any questions, suggest you reach out to your account executives and they'd be happy to set up a more detailed discussion around your specific requirements. Thank you very much.